You're live. I'm alive. It is early afternoon on Wednesday. I just got my hair colored. If it looks dark around here, it's because I got my hair colored. I am considering letting it turn gray as I age, but I don't think my wife wants me to yet. And she's significantly younger and more beautiful than me, so I'm going to take her advice. Iced coffee, delicious. So, what are we doing here? I wanted to call this Life Lessons from the Martial Arts. Why? For one, I don't want anybody to mistake what this is. I don't want somebody to come in and see something and go, hey, when's this guy going to talk about UFC 215? I love, if you follow me or have watched anything, you know I love the martial arts. I love to train them and watch them and learn things from them. We like to talk about fights before they happen. We like to talk about fights when they're happening. We like to talk about fights after they happen. But that's not what this series is going to be. So I didn't want anyone to get mistaken. If you were going to hang out with me, this is very much a vlog, very much a personal vlog, and very much about exploring the ideas to that we learn from studying the martial arts, that we learn from watching and analyzing fighting, that we learn from success and from failure. It's something that I've become more and more interested in. It doesn't need to prevent me from talking about fight analysis before the fights come out. Definitely check out my Mayweather-McGregor analysis on this page. I've done a couple, and I'm going to do another one next week. We will be talking about John Jones, and we will be talking about Daniel Cormier tomorrow and after the fight. I'll even try to do some Jones-Cormier analysis during the fight, maybe here. But this is something different. So the reason I'm clearing that up so quickly off the top is if somebody doesn't want to see me talk about life or want to, you know, go down this road of trying to see what martial arts teach us about how to live, I want you to have an out. I don't want you to be stuck here going, when is this guy going to talk about Jose Aldo? So please, don't, I won't be offended. So what are we doing here? Well, something over the last few years that has been really, really important to me and I've been really fascinated with is life. Learning, trying to grow, trying to improve, trying to gain knowledge or experience or skills. And right there, that's the first thing we learn from training martial arts or watching martial artists or studying how people train, is that whatever we focus our attention on, we will improve. Now, there's different ways to do it. You have to focus your attention properly. You have to train properly. You have to commit. You have to be practical about your training. But you can do it with everything in life. And I'm trying to do that. So today I'm going to try to examine a little bit of things I'm doing and why I'm doing them and seek improvement. If that's not your thing, please feel free. I won't be offended. I have only one perspective right now. That's mine. And you have only one perspective. It's yours. You look at the world out through your eyes, and the way that you interact with the world is very unique to you. And mine is very unique to me. And once we see that, we'll, you know, and we see how other people live and what they do, you're able to examine yourself, self-examination. And that's what I've been trying to do lately. And I'm trying to figure out what I've learned from studying martial arts that I can apply to my life. So in the title, I called it White Knuckling Life. And I feel like that's something a lot of us do, and I feel like it's something that I've definitely been doing. White knuckling it. You know, when your car is, you're going super fast, maybe there's ice, maybe there's curves. You grip that steering wheel super tight and you try to make adjustments on the fly. And that is incredibly stressful. And it's what we're looking for, whether we're driving a car or we're training a fighter or we're living our own life, we're looking for something that you can continue to do, that is sustainable. You want to be sustainable. Somebody mentioned go with the flow. And that's part of it. We're trying to figure out what we can control and what we cannot. And that was one of the big questions I had for Conor McGregor when I saw him here at the Toronto thing. I wanted to ask him. I asked him a number of questions for my job, and I enjoyed it. I love that job with TSN. I'll be working there this weekend again for UFC 214. But I wanted to ask him about the balance between control and going with the flow, or being a part of the stream of the flow of something. And I think ultimately for life, that is one of the biggest struggles that we all have. If you go back and you're interested and you go to the mentality of combat sports on this channel, nice and flowy, that's right. That's life, man. When we're studying these fights, it's a microcosm for how we live, you know? It's a microcosm for how Artem, nice and flowy Artem, tries to survive and thrive within a fight with Cub Swanson. That's an example of how we live and how we're trying to survive the fight that is every day. Sometimes it goes very well, and sometimes it's challenging, but if you're white-knuckling it the whole time, you're not getting where you want to go. And so this vlog for me is very personal. Partly because I have noticed that I'm really honest when I talk to YouTube or when I talk to Periscope. I don't know why that is. I don't know what it is about that. I don't know if it's being in front of a camera for 10 years or if there's something honest about that. But I'm very honest in this situation. I try to be honest with my wife. I try to be honest at the gym. I try to be honest in life, but there's something I can be honest here. And so I'm watching life, and you realize how hard you're trying to control it. It always comes back to water. When you can crash through things and you try to, I mean, water can flow and it can crash. I've got Bruce Lee tattooed on me. This one says crash, and there's crashing water. This one says flow, and there's flowing water. You're trying to figure out the balance, right? We're trying to figure out that balance in life. And we're trying to do it by studying combat. So if you go back to the mentality of combat, I will be doing another one with David Mullins tomorrow. It'll be up late tomorrow night, Thursday night, or Friday, depending on when you're watching this. And one of the biggest things when he is working with an athlete or in life, you go back and we make a list of controllables and non-controllables. And once we identify the things in our life or the things in the fight or the things in the training that we can control, we put our energy on those. And when we find the things that we can't control, we accept their reality, but we release them. And I've been white-knuckling life, and I've failed to do that. I've failed to do that significantly. And why am I using my own life as an example? It's the only one I have. I hope if I do this as a series and I'm looking for lessons in fighting, I will look at other people's stories and other people's ideas, other people's examples, and we'll study them together. But today I only have my own. And on the advice of a friend who was talking to me about my McGregor breakdown Monday of this week, part 2, and about my Weidman breakdown, my friend said, go back and watch it. And he was talking to me about how much he enjoyed the work, but he said, you seem off. And I watched my work this week, and I'm happy with the work to a degree. The Weidman breakdown, I completely meandered off, particularly about reach, completely didn't accept some of the realities of reach. Very amateur there. That's distraction. But on both of them, there was this weird, and not everybody noticed it. I got a couple of messages from people who did, but there was this weird bitterness. I have this weird bitterness, this weird grumpiness, that has been present in my work lately, and it's been present in my life. And I watched it, and I'm like, why is that there? Why am I like that? I'm bitter at the UFC. I love the UFC. I love the fights. I love the people. I love Dana. But I'm bitter. You can hear it. I'm like, fuck those guys. I said that 2 or 3 times. I said that on my friend's podcast. I said that on my own thing. You hear this bitterness. I hear it. And so when you see that in yourself, you're looking at yourself, you should, we have the ability to go back and examine ourselves. Sometimes we get mad at somebody. Sometimes we freak out on our friend or our partner or girlfriend or whatever. And we'll be like, well, she was a bitch. Or my business partner was an asshole. Or my boss is a jerk. Or fuck the UFC. It's not going to get us very far. Not going to get very far. We're trying to make our lives better. We're trying to accomplish more. And when you see yourself stopping yourself, you know, when you see yourself hindering yourself, you get the chance to go back and examine it. And so why am I so bitter? Why am I so rude? And I realize, you know, it's not doing me any good. And I look back at the controllables and the non-controllables. And for so long, I was just committing to the controllables. Can I work harder? Can I learn more? Can I study the martial arts? Can I learn what I can learn from it? And can I just do better and better work? Somebody just mentioned the Jorge Masvidal video. That's an example of just focusing on good work, right? Focusing on improving, focusing on the work itself. That's what I was focused on. The real goal, get better every day. Get better at my skill, learn more, and that you can control. That you can control. Learn more, get better, improve your skills, improve yourself, become healthier, become more rested. Somebody asked about GSP. I learned a lot from GSP. You watch this guy work, you watch the way he looks. This is one of the best martial artists in the world. This is why I'm trying to do a series like this. Slowly examine life through the lenses. When you get a chance to work with George St. Pierre, I owe it to you guys to learn something from that and bring that back. Bring it here. Figure out what I learned from George and bring it here. And yes, some of it is obvious, George's work ethic. But it's his focus, it's his examination of himself, his desire to get better every day. And he understands you can control what you can control. So I started, and once you change any of these things, in your own life, you have to acknowledge that it's different. Right? And I failed to do that. I have always dreamed of commentating the UFC. I always have. But it wasn't the goal. It wasn't what I was focused on. I dreamed of commentating the UFC, and the way that I moved towards that was focusing on what I could control. Get better every day, get better at analysis, study, improve my own skills. That's it. Once I started to talk about wanting to publicly express it, it added a pressure to myself that I changed what I was focused on. We can focus on self-improvement. We can focus on learning. We can focus on ourselves, what we can do. We can't change our wife or our partner or our boss or whoever. You can change yourself, and if you do that, it does change the people you interact with. They become better because you're not a dick. You're a better person. If you're a better person, all of that will happen. So once I started focusing on, I want to work for the UFC, I lost the focus on better every day, learn more, study more, improve more, study the martial arts and learn about life, share what you find, follow your curiosity. And I started to obsess about these non-controllables. Commentating the UFC is not a thing that you can control. What it really comes down to is human beings, regular human beings, who have their own knowledge sets and their own goals and their own study and their own information and their own motivation. You can't make those people go and make you do this, give you this. 18 or 20 or 30 other people are in their orbit, all pursuing it in different ways, and they value different things. Trying to force my way into that prevented me from focusing on what really matters. Get better every day, study the martial arts, improve, go further, chase my curiosity, share what I find. When you're around people like George St. Pierre and you're working for brilliant companies like TSN and you're surrounded by great editors and artists and all these people, there's all this amazing information I have access to that I can share with you guys, my friends. I can use to improve my skills in other areas. And while overly focused on this, that I cannot control. I started, fuck those guys. I said that 2 or 3 times this week. I said it on my friend's podcast. I said it myself. I said it out of frustration. I said it and realized, those guys don't understand anything. I became critical of other people's good work. I became critical of people that I admire. I became critical of other people who do the job that I wanted. That's petty. That's childish. That's weak. That's what I've become. That's what I've become. Slowly. I've become petty, childish, and weak. And I'm not proud of that. Now, I am proud that I discovered that before it went too far. I'm very happy that I discovered that and recognized that before I got worse and worse. And now, the reason I'm talking to you guys under a title of exploring what we can what we can learn about life from studying the martial arts. I can be honest and chat with you guys about it. My wife's out of town. She's away on work. My friends are busy. I'm busy. I'm white-knuckling life. More of this, and then shoot more of these things, and get your shit together on Instagram, because you got to do that if you want people to see, if you want to have a big enough following that the UFC will care about. You're white-knuckling all this shit you can't control. We all do it. We all do it. Why I'm using my own example here, because it's the only one I have. But I'm hoping that you guys think about it yourselves. What are you white-knuckling? Where are you just trying to control shit that cannot be controlled? Where if we could just let it go a little bit. If we can just let it go. And find that balance, that question I was desperate to ask Conor McGregor about at the press conference. That balance between controlling yourself and controlling the situation and letting the world unfold around you. For McGregor, letting the fight unfold around you. Because that's the big question of life. And when we study Chris Weidman versus Kelvin Gastelum, we're looking at trying to find those people. It's not about, the little details, although the little details are always important, and we'll get back to looking at those. And I've been a dick about pushing aside things that were not colorfully attracting my attention lately. But it's about finding that balance between what in yourself you can control in a positive way and what you've got to let happen. And I know this. I've studied this. I've looked at this with David Mullins as we've examined other fights. We've looked at this as we've examined the martial arts. And one of my great things, one of the things that is a important cornerstone of this YouTube channel and what I believe is that we take these lessons from the martial arts. We take these lessons from our study of the martial arts. That is a absolute in my life. And I think that's what I need to do in this case. I need to get back to what I can control. Because I'm not proud of having this white-knuckled undertone where I'm just trying to fight for everything. And we can take that to fighting too. We can take that to fighting in our life. So we watch these guys. They want it so bad. First of all, a comparison is when you talk to a fighter and he's 8-0 and you say, what's your goal? And he's like, I want to get into the UFC. He can't control that. Getting into the UFC is not something he can control. Getting into the UFC requires Sean Shelby or any number of other people knowing he exists, followed by their busy life of their own world, of their own unique perspective of how many people they're looking at in a weight class that may be over or under full or any of these non-controllables. What a fighter can control is a fighter can get better every day. A fighter can improve his own performance. He can improve his abilities to improve his abilities. He can improve his skills. He can become smarter and more rested. He can become stronger. So that is a non-controllable. Bruce Lee said, without frustration, you will not discover that you might be able to do something on your own. We grow through conflict. That's very kind of you to put up, my friend. It really is. It really is. I really do appreciate that. That's a great thing. Conflict and stress. Stress, this is another thing you see when you study sports psychologists and the way they work with their athletes. Stress is good, to a point. Certain kinds of stress. Stress causes growth. I feel like I'm growing right now, and I hope it's okay. And thank you for sharing it with me, but more than I have in a long time, just by thinking these things out loud and sharing them. And I hope that the odd person gets something out of it too, and instead of just sitting here looking at me in a weird colored room with freshly blacked hair. But it is something about self-examination that you find if you're being too stressed. And stress, diamonds are only made through pressure. Oh, thanks, guys. But yes, I'm nobody's fucking guru. I am not a master of life. I am a guy who's studying his own path and studying the martial arts out of love, and I'm doing it to try to learn some things, and I'm trying to share them with you guys. But yeah, so if a fighter trying to get in to the UFC cannot control that. He can control improvement, he can control skill, he can control his performance, and that may ultimately get him there. And if it doesn't, he will have improved and learned, and he will be a better fighter and a better man and a better woman and a better martial artist. So there's that, right? So we're taking that away. We're making that comparison to fighting and trying to use that. Somebody asked about meditation. I haven't been the last week, and maybe that's a part of it. I have been for months, and you've reminded me. Something else we're getting out of here, out of the white knuckling of life, as I've been looking at it the last couple of days, is you see these young athletes, and you see them so driven, and they are working 20 hours a week physically. And then they start to do 24. And then they start to do 26. And they think, if I just do a little bit more than the other guy, then they don't take those days off. And they believe pushing more, doing more, acquiring more, learning more. They think it's helping them. But there is a point at which it is harming them. I know there's debate over this. Gary Vaynerchuk, who's is a genius in media and in modern thinking, he's like, nah, if you got 6 hours at night for rest, go spend it on work. Maybe it's working for him. It doesn't work for everybody. And burnout is real, and stress is real. And your desire to do more sometimes starts paying off less. You don't get as much sleep. You don't eat as well. You don't rest your mind. As you're tired, you get grumpy or bitchy. I mean, we're all human, right? One of the most fascinating things that I see on the internet is when somebody does something bad, they come out, a bunch of people will come out and say, wow, man, we saw their true colors. Even though when they look at themselves, they realize that they have 50 different emotions, all at different times. You're complex. You're fucking complex. You are. So am I. So is Conor McGregor, and so is Floyd Mayweather. And so is everybody. Everybody is very, very complex, right? And you know, you're trying to be at your best. That's all you're trying to do. You need time to meditate and reflect on your actions, whether they be good or bad. You're right. That's what. Guess what I'm trying to do here? I'm going to meditate after, and meditation's great. It's something we'll look at in this series. Maybe I'll bring in an expert. But I'm going to keep doing this, and it isn't just going to be me telling you how I feel. I know that's what it is today, but I just wanted to start this. It isn't just going to be me trying to tell you what I'm learning from my own path. What I learned from my path this week is being a bitter, childish, weak person doesn't feel good. But if you can catch it, yoga. I do love yoga. I'm going to go tonight. I have a little thing at Downward Dog Studios on Queen Street. I'm going to go. But if you can catch yourself early, if you can study yourself, if you have the good fortune to be able to pause and study yourself, maybe we can look and find a way to improve ourselves. I'll probably get worse again in a few days, and then better again, and then worse. We're complicated. Everybody you know, everybody you watch, your favorite fighter, Dana White, your favorite singer, everybody, they're all complicated. They all have their good and they all have their bad. And so talking about it has definitely already helped me. I'm going to get back to really my being concerned with the martial arts, the moments of the martial arts, what I'm looking for in these fights, what I'm looking at by studying these athletes, what I'm looking at by peeling back more of the layers, what I'm learning from the study that I can apply to my own life, what I'm learning from the study that I can share with you guys in hopes that we all learn something. That's what I'm getting back to. That's what I'm going to be about. This kind of grumpy, angry, you know, negative thing. It hasn't been overwhelming. People have actually been very supportive of my last few things that I've done. People seem to really like the Conor McGregor stuff. And maybe 80-90% of them don't even notice that I'm not at my best. That there's a little bitterness in there. That I let that creep in. You know? Most people haven't even noticed. And that's good. I'm glad. But I noticed. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I really did lose the plot. You cannot control human beings with their own knowledge and experience and life giving you a role in a structured thing. You cannot control that. And I focused on that, and I'll be honest with you. There were about 17 or 18 people up for that, the color jobs on the Contender Series, and I let myself believe that I was the shoe-in. And I think that's part of it, because I went down and I killed that audition. And I let myself believe I already had it, and I think that's where some of that bitterness has come. I allowed myself to believe it was already done. And that I already was picturing, okay, well, they haven't decided yet. There's still 6 days, but at the last second, they'll go, shit, you know, there's not a lot of time left. This guy's the most prepared. And the feedback was so good, and I killed it. So I think I allowed myself, mistakenly, it's you should not do it, but we're human, right? I allowed myself to think that I had that, and I have this awesome, cool job at TSN, and in my mind, I was greedy. I can go to TSN Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, around these amazing, talented people and do that. Fly to Vegas Monday, shoot Tuesday, fly back Wednesday. I already let it happen. That's a mistake. That is rookie shit right there. And then I let that start to creep in to how I think. So I'm hoping that that my perspective, my honesty will be of some value to you guys, make you think about something. It's really made me think about something. There's an honesty that I have when I chat here that I don't know how to explain. I don't know. It's like I don't have a choice but kind of be honest. It's very interesting. It's a real gift, and I really value it a lot. But this series, I hope, will become more than me telling you how I feel, what I learned, you know? It's not meant to be, you know, so self-serving, although I get a lot out of it. I'm hoping we can go in and talk to some other people, see what they've learned from the study of martial arts. Or I can find examples in life of things people did. Or when I'm out in the world and I'm with someone like George St. Pierre, or I was training with this hockey player the other day on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Chris Letang was his name. I don't know hockey players. He's apparently very famous. But I was training with him. And when I'm out in the world with these people, maybe I can take some lesson they've learned and just share it with you. Tell the story. I'm a pretty good storyteller, right? So anyways, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys taking the time to hang here with me. And I'm going to turn a corner back, because everything, life, here's one more martial arts thing we're going to take away. You plateau. Right? You find these plateaus. They're often when you're resistant like crazy, like I have been, trying to control everything, trying to do everything. Glenn, last time I saw you white knuckle anything, it was a pork knuckle in Russia. Glenn is my friend, my very good friend. I learned so much from working with him, and I really enjoyed Russia. We ate pork knuckles, which they would cut the hand off a pig and slow roast it. Slow roast it for 2 days and then flash fry some of its skin and put it on covered in gravy, and oh, it was amazing. We had them every night. But yes, so this has been very valuable for me, and I hope there's something in it for you guys. Please direct me to the areas of what we're going to learn by studying the martial arts. The last topic I was going to say before I went is plateaus. Bruce Lee talks about plateaus. Conor McGregor, a modern martial artist, talks about plateaus. We understand plateaus as we train. You're training jiu-jitsu. You're training, you know, let's say we're training in the guard every day for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we make large improvements. Our hips start to become mobile. Where we put our foot, how we make our grip, our sensitivity and our comfort becomes, our improvements are big. And then one day they slow down, and you got to stay with them. You're going in and you're training just as hard, maybe harder, and you're getting less and less. How can I kill someone with one single punch? I don't know. It's possible. You're getting less and less. That's a plateau. And those plateaus, you got to work through them. And sometimes it's you. It's figuring out how you're training, how you're approaching it, where your mindset is. And I feel like I plateaued in the last few weeks, diminishing returns exactly. And my plateau, my barrier has been this underlying bitterness. And so I apologize if I've thrown anybody off. Again, 80% of the responses, 90% of the responses to my work that I've seen anyways, that people have sent me and put my name to tell me, have been very positive. People seem to enjoy the journey of this McGregor-Mayweather breakdown with Polynesian navigators and all this stuff. But every now and again, I'm like, fuck off, if you don't like it, get out, or fuck those guys at the UFC. And that's not me. I'm not proud of thinking that way. And as importantly, if you apply this to your own thinking, it's not going to help you. It's going to hinder you. It's going to stop you from doing better and better things. So I thank you guys for taking the time. Please, any feedback. I want to do something with this series. I want to do something with a series of learning life lessons from the martial arts. It's important to me. This is at the root of my love of fighting these days. So any ideas, I'm open to them all. Anybody got anything for me? I want it all. And if you tweet me and you put in it hashtag fighting is about fighting, I will follow you. And if I follow you, DM me with anything. Okay? Can I add one more? I said the plateau was going to be the last life lesson from martial arts. One more that we're going to come back to. It was the very beginning of my YouTube channel. Is everyone starts at white belt. Right? It doesn't mean when you get to blue belt and purple belt, you're no longer a white belt. Something I talked about Faraz with just last week, about with Faraz, is the beginner's mentality. Even when you're a black belt, some black belts have a white belt mentality. That willingness to look at everything with a brand new eye every single day. And that's what I'm trying to do with life itself. And it was that white belt mentality that let me catch on that I'm on a path that is not going to get better unless I do something about it. And hanging out with you guys is the thing. At least the beginning of the thing. Beginner's mind, exactly. So I thank you very sincerely for this. I think this is going to be something I'm really going to enjoy, but I want to make sure it brings value for you guys. I don't want it just to be me sitting here talking. I want to find ways to bring value from this series that we're calling Life Lessons from the Martial Arts. Okay? Thank you guys so much. Seriously. Fucking thank you. Okay? Black out.